Hello and welcome to the PrepWell podcast, the place to be if your child wants to attend a top-tier college, a military service academy, or they want to earn an ROTC or athletic scholarship. I'm Phil Black, your host, and my job is to prepare you and your child for this amazing journey. So sit back, buckle up, and prepare to out-prepare. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the PrepWell podcast. The whole point of today's episode is to make sure that every PrepWeller out there, and non-PrepWeller for that matter, sends thank you notes to the teachers, counselors, and other supportive adults that have helped them through the college admissions process. Now, your son or daughter may have already gotten into their college of choice. Maybe they applied in the early admission round and got in. And if that's the case, hopefully they've already done this. If they have not, it's not too late to make this happen. And for those PrepWellers who are still waiting to hear back from colleges, this is the month that the regular admissions decisions come out. So I wanted to prime the pump, because you'd be surprised how easy it could be for your child and you to forget about this final step. Families sometimes get so laser focused on the outcomes of the admissions decisions and the choosing of the college and the finances associated with these decisions that they sometimes forget about the people that helped them along the way. It was my own son's experience with writing these thank you notes that further inspired me to devote this whole podcast to the practice. My son, who is a senior, received his official appointment to the Naval Academy a few weeks ago, and when it came time for him to sit down and write his thank you notes, I asked him who was on the list, who would be getting a thank you note. His list had only 2 names on it, the 2 teachers that wrote him letters of recommendation. Now, at first blush, many parents might think that that's it. The teachers who write letters of recommendation are typically the first people who come to mind when it comes to the thank you notes. That might even be the type of advice you would get from a Google search. However, if you want to do the process justice and abide by PrepWell Academy's best practices, most students will probably need to reach beyond just 2 people. And this was definitely the case for Kiefer. Since I'm in the business, I knew that there was no way he was stopping at 2 teachers when it came to thank you notes. So I started to ask about some other people who helped him on his journey and whether or not he wanted to include them on the list. Again, these people I'm suggesting to him would be in addition to the English and the math teachers who wrote the required letters of recommendation. I asked about his high school guidance counselor, who had to submit multiple school-related documents early in the process, actually starting over the summer. Things like transcripts, a school profile, mid-semester transcripts, and any other administrative material needed during the application process. How about his high school water polo coach, who also wrote him a letter of recommendation to the Naval Academy and spoke to countless college water polo coaches on his behalf during the recruiting process, and met with the 2 of us for recruiting strategy sessions and administered his official Navy physical fitness test, and who provided great mentorship for the last 3 years. Shouldn't he be on the list? How about his high school swim coach, who within 2 years helped turn the 6'1" gangly freshman with no swim experience into a 6'7" avatar-like junior who nearly became the county's fastest swimmer in the 50 and 100-yard freestyle? He might be a good candidate to thank. What about the scoutmaster of his Boy Scout troop, who was flexible in working around his erratic water polo schedule and helped him develop leadership skills as he moved up and through the ranks? What about his Eagle Scout project advisors, who went out on a limb and took significant reputational risk to help him get his Eagle Scout project approved and completed in the middle of a COVID lockdown? He would have never become an Eagle Scout without their help. What about the 2 people who wrote him letters of reference required for his Eagle Scout application? What about the orthopedic surgeon who went out of his way, and maybe even outside of standard protocols, to get him a special MRI on his spine to quickly rule out the need for surgery during his freshman year? What about the physical therapist who took an especially keen interest in helping him recover from a thumb injury so he could make a once-in-a-lifetime summer trip to Hungary with the U.S. national team? What about the SAT tutor who met with him at odd hours of the day and on weekends to accommodate his athletic and travel schedule? What about his club water polo coach who believed in him right from the start and put a lot of trust in him and pushed him well beyond his comfort zone, all in an effort to help him develop into a national caliber player? What about the person known as the Navy Blue and Gold officer? This is the Navy representative who was responsible for interviewing him and making sure that his admissions package was complete. This person took a special interest in him and kept him apprised of what was happening behind the scenes during the admissions process. What about the district congressman who nominated Kiefer for an appointment to the Naval Academy? Without a nomination, there would be no path to an appointment. I'm sure the congressman would love to hear from the person in his district that will be attending the academy. What about his two older brothers who are sophomores in college, who were inspiring and supportive siblings, who provided him with good role models and challenged him and showed him the template for success? He might want to throw them a bone. What about the Navy water polo coach and the assistant coach who began recruiting him in his sophomore year and mailed him dozens of handwritten letters and called and emailed and texted and went to his games and vouched for him with admissions? What about his grandparents who funded a Coverdell account in his name that he was able to use to finance some SAT tutoring sessions? If you're really looking for brownie points, you might even consider sliding a quick thank you note to your parents, who I'm guessing probably played some kind of role in getting him to where he is today. So as you can see, that list went from 2 to 22 with just a few minutes of thinking and reflection. Now, as you're listening to this list, many of the characters on this list would probably not be relevant for your child, unless, of course, they happen to be applying to the Naval Academy or some other service academy. Your child obviously would have their own distinct list of people who have helped them on their journey. And by the way, if you think Kiefer's list got pretty long at 20, 22 people, keep in mind that he only applied to one college, the Naval Academy. That's it. He didn't apply anywhere else. So this list might actually be short in the big scheme of things. Imagine if he applied to 15 colleges and for an ROTC scholarship. This list could be even longer. Now, having said that, applying to a military service academy as an athlete is unique and probably does add a few more layers to the process, which may account for a longer than average list. Obviously, the list will change on a case-by-case basis. If your child applied to 8, 10, 15 schools, they may, in fact, have a longer list of thank you notes to send. Maybe they had someone help them with their college essays, or an alumni who talked to them at length about their experience at College X or College Y, or a mentor who took particular interest in their progress or development, someone who offered them an internship when they ran out of options, a supervisor at work that was especially helpful, a particularly helpful teacher or other supportive adult that mentored them, someone who helped them with their interview skills, maybe a college admissions advisor who gave them good advice. The bottom line is this: college admissions can be an all-consuming process that may span a few years. Spend some time reflecting about all of the people who helped along the way. These are people who cared about you when you needed it the most. These are the people who spent time writing a letter of recommendation, or talking to coaches on your behalf, or hiring you for a job, or creating an internship out of thin air to help you out, or connecting you with people at your target schools. All of these things matter. And the responses that Kiefer got from his simple thank you notes were quite revealing. It seems obvious, but people really appreciate being appreciated. And many times when we need something from someone, like a letter of recommendation, for example, we are very attentive and very aware of deadlines. But once we get the thing that we're looking for, we quickly move on to the next pressing need, and we forget about the time and effort it took for that person to do what they had to do. By sending a letter of thanks, you are letting them know that you acknowledge their effort, their promptness, their reliability, and in many cases, their love for you, and that you wouldn't be where you are today without their help, which in many cases would be true. And by the way, don't think that this will be the last time that you might need a letter of recommendation from any of these people. You may need one when trying to get a summer job or an internship, or you may need a letter of reference for some program you're interested in. And if you never thank them for helping you out the first time, don't be surprised when they're not overly responsive the second time around. Make sure you close the loop. Don't be bashful about sending out thank you notes. It only takes a few minutes, and I'm telling you, it'll make a person's day. Now, I'm sure some people are curious, should you send a physical thank you card, or will a text or an email suffice? Well, it depends. It depends on the person, the relationship, the depth of their help, and your personal style. Now, I would love to say that my policy is handwritten cards only. That's certainly the ideal way to go. But I know that that will probably reduce the overall number of thank yous that will go out. So I would leave it up to the student. A handwritten note is certainly preferred in most cases and more personal and more memorable. But in this day and age, a text or an email goes a long way as well. Now, what do you say in a thank you note? Obviously, it depends on the person and what role they played in the process. At a minimum, you want to let them know that you are deeply appreciative of all that they did for you, that you wouldn't be where you are today without their help, and that you're very excited about what the future holds. Let them know what you're up to, what college you might go to, or you are going to. Maybe you're taking a gap year, you're entering the workforce, whatever it might be, and let them know that you'll stay in touch. And let them know that if they ever need help with something down the road, that they can count on you to return the favor. Receiving this thank you note from you will be the highlight of their day. I can almost guarantee it. For one, not many students do it, unfortunately, so you will definitely stand out from the crowd. And two, you will be helping out the next group of students that will be asking them for letters of recommendation or an internship or help with their essay. And by thanking them and showing some appreciation for their time and effort, they will be more motivated to help the next student who comes asking. That's all I've got for you today, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your continued support. In case you didn't know, this podcast supports PrepWell Academy's online mentoring program, where high schoolers and their parents receive weekly videos from me where I break down important topics and give timely advice about college admissions, particularly for top-tier colleges, service academies, and for ROTC and athletic scholarships. Many parents who listen to this podcast already have their high schoolers enrolled in PrepWell Academy, which is great. If you don't yet, please consider enrolling them. Registration is only open during freshman and sophomore year. After that, we no longer accept new students. So if you have a freshman or a sophomore in high school and you like what you're hearing in these podcasts and you'd like to get more content like this, tailored specifically for your child, for their specific grade, and with their specific goals in mind, go to PrepWellAcademy.com and enroll today. If you know a parent with a middle schooler or a high schooler that might find this helpful, please share the episode with them and give us a rating too if you get a chance. Word of mouth and positive ratings help our podcast reach a wider audience. If you have questions, comments, or an idea for an upcoming episode, please reach out to me by email, DM me on Instagram, check out our blog, Facebook page, connect with me on LinkedIn. I would love to hear from you. Until next week, goodbye, good luck, and never stop preparing. This podcast is brought to you by PrepWell Academy. PrepWell Academy is my one-of-a-kind online mentoring program that delivers to your 9th or 10th grader a short, highly relevant video from me every week, every Sunday, in fact, where I give them a heads up about what they should be thinking about to stay ahead of the game. To get these valuable lessons into your child's hands, please head over to PrepWellAcademy.com and enroll your child today.